Grim Fandango was released 20 years ago. In honor of Manny's 20th birthday, we've compiled a list of 8 inspirations for the game. It was an incredible collaboration between a group of amazingly talented and creative people, and we've asked some of them to contribute their inspirations as well. So without further ado, 8 inspirations for Grim Fandango. Number 8. There was a mounting pressure in the mid-90s to switch from the 2D graphics that LucasArts adventure games were known for and jump into the hot new trend, 3-dimensional graphics, polygons, moving through space. But I never liked the way early 3D looked, and I didn't know how to achieve the rich environments especially, and the artistry that LucasArts adventures were known for at the time. And then we saw BioForge, a game with 3D characters rendered in real time in front of pre-rendered backgrounds. This gave us our first glimpse of a way to reimagine our adventure games in 3D while still preserving the rich, detailed backgrounds. To move through these different camera angles, the game also used a control method that inspired Grimm's, the much-beloved tank controls. Please send all your letters to Ken Demarest. BioForge. It's signed by Ken Demarest. It says, hit him with the arm. That's a spoiler for one of the puzzles. You're supposed to pull a guy's arm off and beat him to death with it. Number 7, Ed Big Daddy Roth.
As you can see by my garage, I lived one long life of going to the junkyard and getting turned on by junkyards, and people that don't ever go to junkyards really missing out a good part of life.
Ed Roth was an artist and a custom car designer who created the most famous images of the 1960s hot rod culture. If you've ever seen a drawing of a bug-eyed demon driving a hot rod with his hand on an 8-ball shifter, popping a wheelie with his tongue flapping in the wind, all that comes from Big Daddy Roth. And if you're wondering how he fits into a game that's a film noir take on the Day of the Dead, you just have to look at Glottis driving the Bone Wagon. How does that fit in? I don't know, but it's cool, man. Look at it, it's so cool. Stanley Mouse and Basil Wolverton were early pioneers of this grotesque and awesome art form, but it was Ed Big Daddy Roth's bug-eyed demons and custom hot rods that most directly inspired Glottis and the Bone Wagon. Number 6. Many classic films inspired the film noir aspects of Grim Fandango. The sweet smell of success inspired the banter.
I'd hate to take a bite out of you. You're a cookie full of arsenic.
Gilda inspired the roulette table puzzle. Treasure of Sierra Madre gave us a line,
"That's the kind of sugar Papa likes."
But there's one film that we stole from the most. I mean, one film that provided the most inspiration, and that was Casablanca. Casablanca is probably my favorite movie of all time, and it gave us so much. Manny's character, especially his time as a nightclub owner, borrowed heavily from Humphrey Bogart's Rick Blaine. The blue casket for the blue parrot, the shape of Hector LeMans from Sidney Greenstreet, Chowchilla Charlie from Peter Lorre's Ugarte. Actually, don't look at Casablanca, because I want you to think Grimm's an original game. Number 5. Peter McConnell drew on numerous inspirations for the amazing and diverse Grim Fandango soundtrack.
This is sort of Central American city with an Art Deco vibe to it. This is a dock like in the Maltese Falcon.
But there was one special collection of Mexican folk music that Peter cites above all others. This is some good music.
The Son record was particularly inspiring because it was so raw. The roots of modern mariachi come from Son, and I wanted to tap into that feeling. You know, in those days we were just starting to expand our use of live music, and especially because Grimm was about the land of the dead, I wanted the music to be as alive and vibrant as possible.
Number 4. There were many inspirations for the look of Grim Fandango, but according to concept artist Peter Chan, Jeanette and Caro's 1995 film City of Lost Children is the film that gave Peter permission to design things that were strange, interesting, dark, beautiful, complex, and believable. It's also a really good movie. You should see it. Number 3. The new 3D engine for Grim Fandango, named Grime by lead programmer Brett Mogilewski, borrowed actual chunks of code from other engines like Jedi Knight's Sith engine and Rebel Assault's Smush video codec, but the inspiration for the complete system was Scum, the development tools and engine for all of LucasArts' previous adventure games. Scum is how we knew what modules needed to exist to make a graphic adventure system, from room editors, character editors, runtime engines, animation engines. Scum was the blueprint that told Brett what he needed to build or borrow for the new game.
I had to modify Scum to make it work with 3D as opposed to replace Scum, and that was a big kind of controversial thing, and I found it really hard. I mean, for all that Scum was kind of a really tight code base, it was very much of its era, and it was very sort of hard-coded around a lot of hardware constraints that it started with, and it was really difficult to kind of just open up and say, okay, I needed to do this thing. Tim was actually really supportive, but I didn't realize just how kind of a ballsy move that was at the time, and so I didn't know that, and to some extent that's why I succeeded, because I didn't know how hard it was.
Number 2. Okay, this one I didn't even know myself until we made this video. There have been other Day of the Dead skeletons in art and film, but I've never seen one with Manny Calavera's tribrow, the 3 accent lines over his eyes that give him such a distinctive look. I asked Manny's designer and Grim Fandango's lead artist, Peter Sakel, where the tribrow came from, and he said Adidas, literally an homage to the Beastie Boys and Check Your Head, which sent me scrambling to do some research. The Adidas logo, no, not that Adidas logo, the classic trefoil? The classic Adidas logo. Oh man, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the Beastie Boys album Check Your Head, because on the cover, they're supposedly posing in the shape of the Adidas logo. I had never even heard that before. This is all blowing my mind. Are Ad Rock, Mike D, and MCA perched on Manny's forehead? Time will tell. No, actually, time won't tell. No one will tell. It's a mystery. I don't know. Don't use this part. And of course, the number one inspiration for Grim Fandango, the most important and first inspiration, is the Day of the Dead, the annual celebration from Mexico where family and friends gather to remember loved ones who have died and help their spirits in their journeys. But I wanted to cite some specific references and texts through which that inspiration came. This book was one of the entry points for me. I would look at the pictures and think, how amazing would it be to see these figures come to life, to explore a town with a skeleton doctor and a dentist? Look, that looks like Hector LeMans. Oh my god, we just took Hector LeMans right from there. But there were other books that inspired the art, like the skull-headed vultures and the brightly colored cats like Sans Poof in this book. And the collections of the works of Posada were enlightening, not just because of their iconic style, but because of the social and political context they added, and their depiction of death not as a Victorian, scary, horrible phantom, but as an equalizing character, as a natural part of life. Look at that guy right there. Who says? A Calavera. But if I had to pick one book, it would be this one, Mexican Folkways, which had many, many vivid descriptions of the afterlife and the 4-year journey a soul must take before it reaches the land of eternal rest. Because when I read that, I thought, hey, this could be a game. Well, that's 8 inspirations for Grim Fandango. There were many, many more things that inspired us along the way, but 7 inspirations sounded nice. And then I thought of one more. So at this point, I'm supposed to say like, subscribe, and share, I guess, but I don't really care about that. I want you to go play Grim Fandango. You can get it on iOS devices, PlayStation 4, PC, and now, Nintendo Switch.